welcome to Mattia's Cooking Journal. Today we're going to make two dishes using gnocchi. We're going to make homemade gnocchi out of potatoes and flour and eggs. And we're going to make a dish with fresh tomato sauce, and we're going to make one with fresh pesto, basil from the garden. Now, my mother didn't make these often at all, but my mother-in-law and my husband's aunt did. And we would spend joyful afternoons just putting all this together like an assembly line, and my children had the greatest time, and they will never forget that. Let's get started. All right, so we'll start with the potatoes. I've got 2 potatoes. They're russet. They're the heavier potatoes, the bigger potatoes. I've weighed these. These are 2 pounds. So we're going to take these and put them in some water. We need to bring it up to boil. And it should take about 50 to 60 minutes to cook these through. We'll test them and pull them out. All right, this has been boiling for about 50 minutes. I'm going to take the small one out to see if it's ready. You can see it's starting to crack. That's ready. Stick a fork in there. It goes right through. They're done. I'm going to shut the heat off and take the other one out. All right, so they've cooled a little bit, and I'm going to try and peel them. All right, so I've taken all the peels off. Just cube them so they fit in your ricer. What I'm going to do, right here, put it back on the board. Now you're doing this because you want it to cool off, but you also want any excess water to dry up, because the gnocchis do not like a lot of water. If they're too wet, you're adding more flour, you make the dough tough. So the potatoes have cooled and the water has evaporated a little bit. They're kind of fluffy and a little bit dry. What we're going to do is put it on a nice clean surface. There we go, just take it all there. Make a well. Take your eggs, you add 2 eggs, dump them in the middle. Go, and your teaspoon of salt. Start mixing, and you start incorporating the potato. Then we're going to start adding some flour. We're going to do it a cup at a time. Well, it says 2 cups, so let's just put 2 cups for now, because it's kind of hard to gauge with the humidity of the potatoes. So that's that. Now there's your 2 cups. And start mixing that. At one point you're going to have to drop the fork and start using your hands. Just start mixing. Now you don't want to mix so hard. It's not like bread. You should be a little bit more delicate with that. Now sometimes the dough is really sticky and potato might be too wet. It might be too humid in the house. You may have to add a little bit more flour. And I feel that's the case because this is just too wet. So we're going to go with that other half a cup that we have. And that just might be enough. All right. So I went ahead and added that extra half a cup. Now, it looks like it still might be too wet. Now, it could be because it's very humid in here. We've had major storms, so we're going to add a little bit more. All right,
And I think that'll do
clean
it.
my hands off a little bit. These are really doughy. Take some flour and just rub it all over your hands. Get most of that off. All right. And you can incorporate that in there. It's just fine. All right, this looks like it's the consistency you want. Okay, it's not too wet, not totally hard. I don't know if you can see that. See how soft that is? That's what you want. Okay? Now, when you're making the gnocchi, you may have to add a little bit of dusting of flour on it. We'll do that. So we're gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes and then we'll get rolling. All right, so I've dusted the counter. Take a piece and just roll it. It might be too much. About that thickness. Good. What is that? Almost an inch. This is fun. We would get together with my children. They'd each have their job. One was rolling, one was cutting, and one was curly cueing. We would take a fork and just take it and just roll it down. See that? Makes those little ridges. Okay. May need a little extra flour. Just roll it down. See that little ridge? That's what you want to do. See that? And you just finished them all off. Now these things will make a cute little well. See that little well in there? Those little pockets are great because it picks up your sauce, tomato sauce, pesto sauce, a soup, and it's just delicious. So there you go. Just keep going. Sometimes we would use a gadget like this and just roll them off and you get something like that. See that? Just as good. Whatever you got. And you're done. All right. Just put them on the table, clean tablecloth that you have. Just a little bit of flour on them so they don't get stuck to each other. And just place them. Now these are about a 1/2 inch in diameter. See that? You don't want them too thick because then you're going to have a problem. They'll be too chewy. So let's just finish these off. Now we have a pot of water boiling, salt water boiling. When that comes to a boil, we'll put these in. Flour on them, you don't want them sticky. Alright, and there you go. Almost done. Okay, the water has come to a boil, and make sure you got a nice big pot. There's a lot, so you don't want to use a small pot. So we gather up your gnocchi. This is what my mother-in-law used to do, and she'd start adding them. Your leftovers, don't even stir them. When they're cooked, they will pop to the top. Take a few minutes. Okay, now, do you see how they're all coming to the top? They all float. I haven't stirred this yet. They're all gonna start coming to the top. When you'll see, when most of them are up there, they're ready. And when they're done, we'll drain them. Okay, so we're going to get started with our fresh tomato sauce. Now this tomato sauce it's a very quick thing. It's not one of those that you stew for hours. You want to get your pot nice and hot. I've got it on medium to high. I've got a tablespoon of that beautiful roasted garlic. It's in there. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of those nice chili flakes. Get them all in there. Then I will add 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. That's 1 large can of tomato. Just put it in there. Stir that up. Mix it all together. We're going to salt and pepper to season, to taste. If you like less salt, go ahead, more. And we're just going to stir. And this shouldn't take more than, I'd say 5 or 10 minutes on the stove. And it's done. It tastes very fresh, it's very light. I'm just going to let this simmer. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of olive oil. It's nice to have that olive oil taste. It's about a tablespoon or so. And you're done. And this is ready to go on whatever you choose. Now this has been cooking for a few minutes, about 5 minutes. I will take a fresh sprig of basil. It smells so good. I won't even chop it up. I will just put it in whole and just let it cook. My mother used to do that a lot. She'd always put in her basil whole, never chopped it up for anything. So I'll give this another 5 minutes and it's done. Okay, this is looking good and it's ready. It smells very fresh and sweet. Okay, we're going to shut that off. And our gnocchi are ready. Drain them. All right, so we're going to take some of this beautiful sauce, pour it all over our gnocchi. This tomato smells so good. It's fresh. You can tell it hasn't been stewed. What I'll do is add some grated cheese. I'm going to mix it. All right, sprinkle on some more sauce. That looks good, smells good. Take some basil leaves, put it in there, and just cut them up, put them on top. So it's like perfume. And you are ready for a terrific meal.